Hello and welcome back to Leading the Herd, proudly supported by Nbryo, a global leader in advancing assisted reproductive technologies. I'm Rebecca Arnott, and today marks the final episode of our first series, Getting Started with Bovine IVP. Over the past few episodes, we've covered the big picture: what is IVP or IVF, how it differs to MOAT, selecting and managing donors and recips, and the facilities and equipment needed. And to wrap up, we're covering the practical aspects of what actually happens on OPU day and how you can be best prepared. So if this is your first IVF program, this short episode's for you. We'll walk through what to expect, how to be prepared, who's involved, and how to get the most out of the program. While every technician will have their own variations, this episode is based on Nbryo's standard procedures, which are designed for efficiency, animal welfare, and optimising results. So what happens first? One of the first most important steps for the owner or manager to do prior to the technicians arriving is to quietly draft the donors into their mating groups. Given one straw of semen can be used on up to 10 donors, grouping donors allows semen straws to be used most efficiently and cost-effectively during the short window of the fertilisation process. For us, the day usually starts on farm around 7 a.m, with two instrumental people arriving, the OPU technician and one of our oocytologists or embryologists. After checking in with the owner or manager, the OPU technician will usually begin by setting up his or her equipment beside the crush, checking over the cattle and discussing the finer details or any changes with the person in charge. This includes checking IDs, mating groups, and the overall health and well-being of the donors. Meanwhile, the oocytologist will set up a portable lab, usually in a nearby house, office or shed. This mini lab includes a microscope, an incubator, and a range of consumables, including warmed oocyte media, test tubes, petri dishes, pipettes and filters. Both the yard and lab setups are done in parallel, so assuming the cattle, facilities and equipment are all in order, the team are usually ready to start aspirating within about half an hour of arrival. Once each donor is in the crush, the OPU technician does a rectal ultrasound to assess her suitability for egg retrieval. This includes checking she is less than 100 days pregnant, is cycling, is carrying a sufficient number of follicles, and is in general good health and condition. This step helps ensure that only donors with a high chance of a successful OPU are used. If a donor doesn't meet the criteria, say she's in anestrus, has very few follicles, or isn't looking well, she may not be aspirated that day. This minimises the chances of a disappointing result and should help to optimise the return on your investment, provided you have a few extra donors on hand to choose from. Donors deemed suitable are given an epidural to reduce pelvic sensitivity and help her stay calm and still during the procedure. Once the epidural has kicked in, the OPU technician inserts the transvaginal ultrasound probe and, guided by the screen, aspirates each visible follicle with a fine needle. Each follicle is drained of the fluid containing the oocyte inside. This process takes about 10 to 15 minutes per donor, depending on the number of follicles and the technician's speed. The fluid is collected into a labelled tube, which also includes notes for the oocytologist, such as the estimated number of follicles aspirated or anything seen during the scan that may assist with the searching process. As soon as the aspiration is complete, a runner, often a farmhand or assistant, carries the tube immediately to the oocytologist, usually in a heated transport container, to protect the oocytes from any temperature shocks. Timing here is critical. Oocytes are delicate and begin degrading if they're left too long without proper handling. That's why having the lab set up close to the yards is ideal, as it cuts down the time between aspiration and processing. In the makeshift lab, the oocytologist filters the follicular fluid, rinses the oocytes and begins the grading process. Each oocyte is assessed under the microscope for its condition and graded as either viable or non-viable. The time of aspiration, the donor ID and any lab observations are recorded on the form. Viable oocytes are then placed in a special maturation media and transferred into a portable incubator, where they'll stay warm and safe during transportation back to the main lab and until they are fertilised first thing the next morning. This process continues one donor at a time up to the usual threshold of around 25 donors per OPU day. After the last donor is done, the OPU technician will check each animal again, monitor her recovery, ensure she's comfortable before being walked quietly back to a paddock close by. Most donors are back on feed and have recovered from the epidural and procedure within an hour or two of OPU. Meanwhile, the oocytes will continue maturing in the portable incubator for the 22 to 26 hours prior to fertilisation. We'll cover the magic that happens in the lab next time. And what's really exciting is that once the embryo platform of technologies is introduced, each of these embryos, after being drafted in the dish based on the traits you desire, can be multiplied into many by mimicking the natural twinning process in sheep, as opposed to cloning or GMO. That brings us to the end of today's episode and the end of Series 1, Getting Started in Bovine IVP, here on Leading the Herd. If you're thinking about doing your first IVF program, would like to make a booking or learn more, don't hesitate to give our team of friendly repro experts a call. Leading the Herd will be back after a short break with a very exciting Series 2, where we'll dive deeper into the magic that happens in the lab and the future of assisted breeding with Nbryo's platform of technologies. If you've enjoyed this series or learned something new, please consider leaving us a review or sharing it with a friend or colleague who might find it helpful. Thanks for joining us.